Today we're talking about animal Mandela effects. If you thought the Mandela effect only applied to logos, movies, and brands, well, I've got some good or bad news for you. Animals can also be affected by these weird changes, sometimes subtle, and other times in ways you'd never expect. So today we're looking at a ton of examples, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Timestamps are in the description if you want to jump around, so let's get into it. Let's kick this video off with a brand new animal Mandela effect, and this one is weird. Let's talk turkey. And by that I mean specifically turkeys having beards. Yes, you heard me correctly. Apparently male turkeys, and sometimes female turkeys, have beards. And I don't mean a little bit of facial hair here and there. They have long, dangly beards. Look at this. And this one. And this one. This is as shocking to me as horses having mustaches. I mean, look at this. It's so bizarre. Thanks to viewers like you, I was sent a link to a Facebook group post talking about this weird detail that no one had ever seen before, and I couldn't believe it. In this day and age with AI and all of these ways to fake videos and photos, I had to look it up. And yes, nearly every photo I found had this gross long hair growing out of their neck or torso. I'm a guy with a pretty big beard myself, so maybe I shouldn't judge these turkeys, but this one caught me so off guard. This has got to be one of the best Mandela effects of the year, hands down. Turkeys have beards? Are you kidding me? Digging around more, there are posts about this weird turkey beard Mandela effect all over the internet. It's as if we all collectively said, this isn't right. But as it always goes with the Mandela effect, this has apparently always been there. This is the way it's always been. Turkeys have always had these beards. So what do you think? Obviously all of us knew about turkey beards. This is all very normal and not absolutely insane, right? Also, I find it hilarious that a brand new turkey Mandela effect comes out right after I put out my Thanksgiving Mandela effects video. The timing could not be more perfect. Thanks, universe. Your comedic timing is always appreciated. Has the turkey beard always been there, or has something changed? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. Next up, I want to briefly talk about the concept of Mandanimals. This combination of words is a mixture of Mandela and animals. And the idea of Mandanimals is pretty fascinating, but also kind of horrifying. So we know that Mandela effects can change things, sometimes small and sometimes big. There's a pretty big scale to what can be affected by the Mandela effect. But the creepiest aspect of the Mandela effect is when it makes something disappear, like the Shazam movie, or makes something appear that no one remembers happening, like the Black Tom explosion, which I made a video about, link in the description. Put simply, the Mandela effect can alter, delete, and create, which is a terrifyingly strong ability. So applying this concept to animals, does that mean the Mandela effect can alter animals, delete animals, and create animals? And if so, the creation of animals is the basis for Mandanimals. Now, I haven't really covered these before because it's so hard to prove or disprove any of this stuff empirically. Basically, it's all of us sharing our collective memories and coming up with strange, identical connections. So how do we go about proving that a certain animal is new? I mean, what if someone remembers it? It's a hard thing to define and prove, which is why I've typically steered away from this topic. For example, if a new monkey is discovered, is it a new animal? Did it exist before? Who knows? We can all certainly be shocked by a new discovery, but it's hard to gauge what is newly created versus what has always been there that no one knew about. That's why I'm talking about this, because I want to hear some insight from you. If a new insect is discovered, we don't typically say, hey, here's a new one. But if a giant bird with a 20-foot wingspan was discovered, we'd all say, absolutely this is new. This did not exist before. There's no way. How did no one not see this before? So what are your thoughts on the concept of Mandanimals? And do you have any good examples of them? We're all trying our best to make sense of this world, so let's work together to figure it out. That's enough theorizing for now. Let's get back into some animal Mandela effects. Ostriches are gigantic 6 to 9 feet tall flightless birds that roam across the African savanna. Fun fact, enough of these birds have escaped containment in Australia that native colonies have formed. Wow. Anyway, for this Mandela effect, I'm going to ask you a true or false question about ostriches. Let me hear in the comments what you remember. Here we go. An ostrich buries its head in the sand when it gets scared or threatened. True or false? The correct answer is false, and apparently always has been false. Ostriches, in fact, never bury their heads, not even in sand. Ostriches are massive and powerful creatures who either fight back with strong kicks and razor-sharp talons, or simply run away at a maximum speed of 70 kilometers or 43.5 miles an hour. One theory behind this weird concept that so many people previously shared is that ostriches are often foraging for food or eating off the ground, perhaps making it look like its head is lower than it is. Another theory behind all this is when an ostrich is burying its egg, it covers it back up with its head. But neither of these fully explain why so many people believe that ostriches bury their head in the sand when they're scared or threatened. So what do you think? Did you believe this as well, or have you always known? Let me hear your thoughts below. What killed the dodo bird? Or to phrase it better, what made the dodo bird go extinct? From what I had always understood was that these dodo birds were hunted to extinction by humans. They were big and easy prey. The dodos had never interacted with humans before, so they were very friendly and unafraid. Adding to that was that they were incredibly tasty, big, fat, delicious birds. These led to settlers hunting and eating them to extinction by 1681. Yeah, but that's not the case anymore. It turns out that humans did not hunt them to extinction at all, and their meat was terrible to eat. What the explanation is now is that rats, pigs, and monkeys ate the dodo birds' eggs and competed with them for food, leading to them going extinct. This goes against everything I had always learned and I had always thought. Digging into more research, this is just the common assumption now, this is the common belief. So I feel kind of left out. I thought humans ate them all and they were delicious, but there we go. Turns out that's never been the case. So what do you think? Has this always been a case of rats, pigs, and monkeys eating dodo eggs and leading them to extinction? Or is this a Mandela effect for you? Because I remember in one way. What about you? Have you ever heard of cow tipping before? Essentially, it's the juvenile and mean concept of sneaking up on an unsuspecting or sleeping upright cow and pushing it over for entertainment. You don't really hear a lot about cow tipping these days, now that there's so much entertainment at our fingertips. But back in the day, everyone knew someone who knew someone that went cow tipping. I grew up with my grandparents, and even I heard stories of my mom as a teenager sneaking off with a group of friends and going cow tipping. This act has been shown in all forms of media, from TV shows to movies to books. It's just this weird thing that's always existed. But what if I told you that cow tipping, 1, doesn't actually happen, and 2, is physically impossible? As it goes now, cow tipping isn't a real thing, and it has never been a real thing. First of all, cows are massive. It's been determined that you'd need 670 to 900 pounds of force to even attempt to push one over. Secondly, cows only sleep lightly when upright, and easily wake up. They only go to deep sleep when they're lying down. Lastly, and most shockingly, there has never been a recorded case of anyone ever cow tipping. No videos, no evidence, just old stories people used to tell. The concept of cow tipping and the fact that it's never actually existed has been blowing up online lately, so tell me, is this what you remember? Was cow tipping just an urban legend or a myth perpetrated in movies like Heathers, Tommy Boy, Barnyard, and I Love You, Beth Cooper? Or was this actually a thing at some point, and now it's not? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. This Mandela effect was brought to my attention through a comment on a previous video. It's a weird one, and I really had to think about it, but I hope it makes you scratch your head as much as it made me scratch mine. I am not a hunter, and I don't live out in the woods, so I'm not interacting with deer on a regular basis, but maybe you are. Either way, I want you to visualize the average American deer in your mind. In this visual image, how do you see the deer's tail? Is it short and tiny? Or is it long and fluffy? This one really weirded me out because once I started looking at photographs of deers, their tails are very long. One interesting fact that I found is that the white-tailed deer, the size of their tail can reach 14 inches. Now, I'm not saying that all deers have long tails because there's no way to check them all, but what I am saying is that image that a lot of us have in our head of deers having tiny little fluffy tails, completely wrong. Look at all these photos. Does it feel off to you? Is this what you remember? We need some hunters and/or some zoologists to jump in and help explain these weird changes. The next two Mandela effects have to do with changes in animals. Up first is the African gray parrot, also known as the Congo gray parrot. This bird is one of the most intelligent animals, with the mental and emotional capacity of a 5-year-old child. This popular pet can be found all over the world, so it's quite well known. So here's the Mandela effect. What color is the African gray parrot's tail? Is it gray, red, pink, or yellow? If you said gray, well, that's too obvious. The tail's color is actually red and apparently always has been. Is this what you remember? What I find amazing is that the red isn't a dull or diluted shade, it's incredibly vibrant and noticeable. What I do find interesting though is the lack of residue for the African gray parrot's tail being a different color. So what do you remember? Continuing with our animal trend, this next Mandela effect has to do with horses. With horses being mammals, this means among other things that they have hair all over. Long tails, a thick mane, and fur all over their body. But here's my Mandela effect question for you. can horses grow mustaches? Yes or no? As unbelievable as it may seem, horses can now grow mustaches. I'm sure all of you knew that, right? Just look at these photos. Amazing. Apparently some breeds are more prone to growing mustaches than others, but it can naturally occur across the board. Does that sound right to you? And have any of you out there seen a horse with a mustache before? It's Mandela effects like this that make me wish I grew up closer to the country, because I can't for the life of me remember ever seeing a horse with a mustache. I'm trying to visualize it, I just can't. The majestic orca whale, also known as the killer whale, is one of the most recognizable mammals in the ocean, perhaps only rivaled by the great white shark. Today's Mandela effect has to do with the design and pattern on the killer whale. Does something look a bit off to you, or is everything normal in this photo? Perhaps I changed something, or perhaps I did not. So here's my question. Has the killer whale always had a mustache pattern on the back behind its dorsal fin? Yes or no? These photos have not been altered by me in any way. That strange mustache pattern on the back of the killer whale, well, turns out it's always been there. When I first heard of this Mandela effect, I quickly googled as many images of killer whales and orca whales as I could find. And as it turns out, it has indeed always been there. Does this strange mustache-looking shape look right to you? Do you remember this design on Free Willy's back? Please let me hear all of your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk America. If I was to ask you, what is the national bird? What would you say? If I read your mind correctly, you said it's the bald eagle, and you'd be correct. So what is the Mandela effect here? Well, what if I told you it only recently became the national bird of the US? In fact, in December 2024, it became the national bird. December 2024, does that sound right to you? Because if not, you aren't alone. In fact, numerous articles just like this one have been written about this strange development. Let's try to make sense of this all by looking at the facts. The bald eagle has been on national emblems and even used as the Great Seal of the US on official documents since 1782, meaning it's been a symbol for the US for a long time, but it's never been the national bird of the US. In fact, it was almost hunted to extinction before legal protections were put in place in the 1940s to protect them. The bald eagle is the symbol of America. I mean, we even have official state birds for all 50 US states, but somehow the bald eagle has never been the national bird, if you can believe it. It's taken nearly 250 years to apparently get to the place we all thought we were already at, but it's official now. Is this exactly what you remember, or has something changed? Also, fun fact, founding father Benjamin Franklin actually objected to the bald eagle being chosen to represent the US, calling it a, quote, bird of bad moral character, end quote. That's so great, I had no idea. In all the time that I've been doing this, I have covered a ton of Mandela effects on my channel, but never before have I had a Mandela effect spawn from a meme. That's right, today we are looking at least to me, the very first meme video Mandela effect. So let's see if you've heard of this meme before, and later I'll tell you what apparently changed. There's a great video which started on TikTok, but eventually spread all over the internet of a cat accidentally stepping on piano keys and panicking. And every step that that cat takes to get away from the sudden noise creates a new startling noise, and the cat is panicking even more. This video was released in 2020, and there's a good chance that you've seen it. It's funny, everyone loved it, shared it, and moved on to the next meme. I don't know why this recently popped back up into the zeitgeist, but it's back now, and people have noticed something weird about it. So much so that internet sleuths have been looking for an alternative video because this couldn't possibly be the original. I'm going to show it to you now, so watch carefully and tell me if you notice anything different about it. So what changed in the minds of not only myself, but a ton of people online? Well, it's the giant red box. Not only does it take up a huge amount of the frame, it's also blocking out most of the piano keys. In my memory, the cat steps on all these different keys, and it starts panicking, and you can see it moving back and forth pressing different keys. But now there's a giant box in the way, and you can't actually see most of the piano keys. It's so strange. So here are my questions to all of you. Was it simply such an entertaining video that most of us didn't notice the giant red box? I mean, it's possible, I suppose, but what makes it so strange is the staggering amount of comments reacting to this seemingly innocuous red box. I mean, look at these comments. This isn't even all of them. I actually got tired of screenshotting comments because there were so many people confused about this apparent new addition. So tell me in the comments, what do you all think of this? Was this red box always there? Was this somehow retroactively added in? Is this nothing? Or is this another example to add to the absurdly long list of Mandela effects? In my opinion, that box was not there. I don't know why it's there. It's so strange to me. I personally don't remember this box, but that's just me. Let me hear it all in the comments below. Sometimes an animal appears different from how you remember it, and today I have an amazing new example for you. This Mandela effect is about a shocking change to a number of lizards. I heard someone talking recently about how some lizards actually have a third eye. Now, this sounded ridiculous, until I looked it up and somehow, yes, a bunch of lizards, frogs, salamanders, fish, and even some sharks have a third eye, like a literal third eye on their head. Wait, are we joking here? I'm completely blown away by this. So I started doing more research, and yes, fans of the Mandela effect have indeed talked about this before and are as shocked as I am. So it's not just me, there's a lot of us. And I'm sure some of you are thinking, wait, what? Just look at this lizard. Since when has that been there? I'm taking a shot in the dark here, but I'm sure some reptile enthusiast out there has heard of this before. But what about the rest of you? When I was a teenager, I actually owned 2 iguanas as pets for years, Neo and Neon, a boy and a girl. Now I fed, pet, and played with these iguanas every day. I can still distinctly remember the feeling of their head, the texture, what it looked like. So this is pretty shocking. If it had a third eye, I'm sure I would have noticed. So I looked it up and yeah, iguanas apparently have a third eye as well. Not quite as developed as some of the other lizards, but still, I guess I just never noticed it when I rubbed their heads. This third eye is called the parietal eye, and it sits on top of the head. It's apparently photoreceptive and helps to regulate its circadian rhythm and hormone production for thermoregulation. Put simply, it helps to regulate its body temperature and tells it when to go to bed and wake up. Have you ever seen or noticed this before? Would you consider this a Mandela effect change? Or is this a totally normal thing that tons of us just never noticed until now? I'm still shocked by this one. Mandela effect or not, this is just amazing. Let's talk about the American bison, also known as the American buffalo. Growing up, it was common knowledge to apparently many that the bison in America was hunted to extinction. But this is now not true. I first saw a post asking about why the bison was extinct, and every response to it was like, what are you talking about? This confused me because when I was young, I remember hearing the same thing, so I started looking more into it. It's not just this one person and me, right? I mean, if we got something wrong, fine. But as I went looking, there are countless examples of people having learned that the bison were extinct. Countless examples, only for that now to be completely wrong. Comment after post after response online talks about people apparently misremembering that bison were extinct. But why? Why do so many people seemingly remember a thing that was never true? The belief that bison are extinct is so commonplace, I even found it parodied in The Simpsons.
I haven't had buffalo in 6 hours. How about whipping up some buffalo sausage, huevos buffaleros, and some fresh squeezed buffalo J?
The buffalo are gone. I think you shot them all.
We wiped out the entire species. What have I done?
There's 2 left.
What have I done?
If you look into the history of American bison, they were at one point near extinct, in 1889, but have since been restored and are no longer threatened with extinction. And the history around this is pretty dark. There was always a demand for bison meat, hide, and bones, but what's far worse is that people hunted them to near extinction as a way to starve off native populations at the time. The stories around this stuff are absolutely horrifying, but the photos, good God, the photos, look at these, it's disturbing. Here's a photo of over 40,000 bison pelts. Just look at that. And even more disturbing is this mound of bison skulls in this 1892 photograph. I can't even find the words to describe the feeling this photo gives me. It's unreal. Today someone would say this is AI generated. So yeah, with stories and history and photos like this, maybe that's why so many people think the American bison went extinct. But it makes me wonder, why is this such a widespread belief? Why do so many people believe, or did believe, otherwise? It's really strange. Do you remember learning that the American bison or American buffalo was extinct? And if you do, where did you learn that from? I'd really like to know. When you think of the American Wild West, what do you see? Cowboys, shootouts, horses, maybe some cacti, maybe a few saloons? I'm sure you can name plenty more. But what about camels? Do you think of camels when you think of the American Wild West? You know how much I love to talk about history seemingly changing on this channel, and today is no different. Did you know we had camels roaming the Wild West in America across the states of Texas, Arizona, California, as well as some in Alabama and Mississippi? Sure, why not? These camels were initially introduced into the American Southwest in 1865 when the US Army decided that camels would fare better than horses in desert-like conditions. It would take 5 days to do a loaded trip with a mule, but only 2 days with a camel. Also, 6 camels could do the work of 12 horses in 42 hours less time. There's also the fact that camels could travel carrying heavy loads in terrain that was too tough for wagons to get through. There were even multiple times that the camels found water when everyone else was dying of dehydration. They simply knew where to look. All this made it seem like a pretty great idea, and camels were imported multiple times over the years into the United States. But there were problems. First of all, they had a horrible body odor. It was written to be incredibly offensive to the nose and even scared away horses. Meaning they couldn't keep the camels in the same stable as horses, they required their own. The odor was so bad that on some Nevada routes they were even banned from traveling. Secondly, the camels had a nasty disposition and would spit cud when upset. Yet despite all of this, they mostly worked out. So the years passed, the railroads were built, and the camels kept changing hands. The mission they were needed for finished, and it was time to move on. Some escaped, some were freed, some went to California, some went to Mexico, and some somehow ended up in Canada. No, I'm not joking, look. And most bizarrely, in the hands of Confederate troops during the Civil War. Sure, why not? Take a look at this picture. Tell me that this was a real thing that actually happened. I swear our timeline keeps getting weirder and weirder. There was even a gravestone for one beloved Confederate camel. The most horrifying detail about these camels were the feral ones that escaped and terrorized random ranches in towns in the American Southwest. One coming to be known as the Legend of the Red Ghost, a terrifying monster that attacked and trampled humans, ate children, and stalked small towns. Who knows if any of that was true, but imagine someone who had never heard of or seen a camel before, and then a camel walks up. Think of the legends this would have created. Maybe this was always true, and the vast majority of us simply never learned about it. So my question to you, did we actually have camels in the Wild West and during the Civil War in America? It's more likely just some bizarre and mostly unknown history, but these days, I don't know what to believe anymore. What's real? What's fake? What's fact? What's fiction? Everything seems to be blurred today. There's realities and alternative realities. It's seemingly getting harder to pin things down. Sometimes it feels like the past is being retconned with these strange updates, but maybe life has always been weirder than we could imagine. Let's wrap this video up with one final Mandela effect that has multiple stages. In the book of Genesis chapter 8, it talks about the world being flooded, and Noah on his ark with all the animals. How many days did this last? Really think about this for a second. How many days was Noah in the water in his ark with the animals? Did you think it was 40? Maybe 40 days and 40 nights? Nope. Turns out that's not correct. It lasted between 370 and 380 days. Not only that, after all the flooding, what bird did Noah first send out to look for land? Really think about it for a second. I know a lot of people probably said dove. Then you're incorrect. Noah actually sent out a raven first, then a dove, and then that dove came back. He waited 7 days, and then he sent another dove out that came back with an olive leaf. Then Noah waited 7 more days, and he sent out another dove that didn't come back. So now it turns out he sent out a raven, and then 3 doves, and the second dove found the olive leaf, and the third one just, died, drowned somewhere. It's very confusing. So let me know, is this what you remember? Is this how the story goes in your mind? If not, let me hear it in the comments, and remember, never stop searching.